Nicholas Ives' show, The Crudes, I reckon is one of his best yet. This young Melbourne-based painter is a real hit with New Zealand collectors, and this is his third solo show with Scott Lawrie Gallery. He's focusing here on parenthood, specifically as a father to his first child. And he explores it through the primal experience of being a father. Personally, I've collected Nick's work for many years, and I reckon he's on a fascinating journey with these works. So we thought we'd ask Nick, who's still in Melbourne, who couldn't make it over for the show, a few questions to enlighten us about some of the paintings in this show.
The title of the show is a bit of a playful riff on the animated kids film, The Crudes, which is about a Neanderthal family negotiating change and encountering disaster in their prehistoric world. It seemed to parallel nicely this absurd natural history body of work that I was slowly putting together. There was a rawness and a humour as well, which I think sort of summed up the work. A lot of the works are featuring cavemen, Neanderthals, Neanderthal children, and this came from me observing my little boy during lockdown, where I was really focused on the home life and family, and I wanted to capture that directness, that sort of uncivilized, unruly nature within the works. I wanted the works to be very direct and unadorned. I didn't frame any of the works. I wanted them to feel quite rough and material. The title piece of the show, The Crudes, is also the largest piece in the show, and it features a Neanderthal family sitting around a cave on a mountainside. There's a sense of narrative in it, an ambiguous kind of narrative. I don't really want to sort of lock that narrative down too much, but in the centre there's a character. It could be the father figure holding a snake in one hand, some sort of stick in the other. I was never quite sure if perhaps he was doing a magic trick to entertain the family, or perhaps he just caught this snake and they were all going to eat it that night. I wanted the show to touch on ideas of narrative, maybe mythology, definitely the stories we tell of ourselves, of where we've come from, perhaps where we're going into the future. I wasn't really concerned with reflecting in some ways too many ideas about myself. I was far more interested in turning the focus sort of outward. When my son was born, a friend said to me, "You're no longer the hero of your own narrative anymore." And they're words that have just echoed with me over the past couple of years. I find it quite freeing to think about narrative in that way, that we can now write future narratives for the future sort of generation, and it takes the focus away from the self, which I find quite humbling and quite freeing. In some ways, it's turned this show into a new beginning. I've always focused a lot on portraiture and done a lot of self-portraiture. I used to paint a lot of portraits of old men. Often they seem to reflect my father or my grandfather. And this show has felt like a strange sort of return to something basic and the origins of a new story. So it's really sort of reinvented the way maybe that I think about my own practice. Another work in the show which was a real surprise for me was a small sculpture which I called simply Boy. It has been made into a bronze for the show, but I originally made it out of clay, sitting at home once again with my little boy as he was working with his Play-Doh. Working with clay was a real revelation. It felt earthy and quite primal in a way, and I think that fed into the themes of the show in a really nice way. I was trying to deal with earthy colours, deep browns, rich reds, forest greens, these sort of colours that spoke of a primal, archaic, primordial world, uncivilized perhaps. A favourite piece from the show is called The Boy Pissing, which is a humorous piece. It's based on my son, once again, naked, pissing on the lounge room floor, as I've witnessed him do numerous times over the last couple of years. There was a directness and a rawness once again, which really appealed with the image, and I wanted the handling of the work to reflect that as well. It's a very sort of rough image. It's sort of worked over in numerous kind of sessions. There's some very raw bits of canvas coming through, and some quite textured paint on there as well. I always want that handling of the paint and the feeling of the painting to hopefully in some way align with the subject, so you feel that resonance, and maybe even before you read the subject matter, I wanted there to be that directness kind of to it. I don't try to pre-plan my paintings too much. I try to let the studio process be pretty organic and allow, you know, what comes out as I'm painting to sort of come out. I'll often layer the paintings up with colour and marks, and let the painting sort of talk to me about the direction it wants to go. I guess there's certain things that interest me, and portraiture was one thing that I really wanted to push into the works with this show. But a lot of the time I would just begin the works with colour, with marks, and try to find my way sort of through that. There's a lot of loose brush marks in the work, a lot of sort of unfinished surfaces, unfinished edges, but I think that works its way into the narrative of the show. And I think in some ways you read those material elements even before you approach the subject matter. Hopefully you get a feeling from that surface, from that paint, that ultimately informs, you know, the reading of the painting. But maybe it sort of works on you before language, before you're really thinking about what you're seeing. Hopefully it sort of hits you in more of an emotional sort of space, or a physical sort of bodily space perhaps.
If you can't make it to the show, don't forget to check out the 3D tour. You can find that through our Instagram profile, and also the essay by Andrew Paul Wood on the website. Here, we're open in the gallery Wednesday to Sunday, 11 to 5 p.m. There's free parking at 15 Williamson Avenue, and the show is on until the 30th of May. See you soon.